Welcome back. So in this video, we're going to be discussing JT's natal birth chart. For those of you who have an interest in her, she is a member of the City Girls, which is a rap group coming from the Miami area. And overall, how the City Girls appear is very raunchy, overly explicit, and ignorant as well. And their appearance, image-wise, is something that you could go in a strip club in Miami and probably see. They're very loose with the fabric and the material. They don't cover up much. So you can get a similar feel and vibe with the City Girls. And the current generation of young adult women, teenagers, they gravitate towards these women for I don't know what reason. These women have been exposed for being frauds. They're overly enhanced with their cosmetic works, and it doesn't look bad. They look pretty damn good for the money that they spent on the operation table. But I would say the women gravitating towards these women are lost, and they're looking for JT and Young Miami to be their savior or to vicariously live through these women in a sense. And these women lead unhealthy lifestyles. They're very toxic. They date toxic men. Allegedly, Little Uzi is who JT goes with, and he's very abusive, okay? He's very dysfunctional. The man went and put a fake diamond crystal in his forehead. So, Little Uzi is no man that any woman should want to have, you know, and apparently she's only with him for what he can provide. So obviously Little Uzi is an idiot, he's a moron. And the other member of the City Girls, Young Miami, she's with Diddy. She's locked at his hip for the exact same reason. So these women, they don't care to be used, abused, and beaten up over the sake of chasing the bag and chasing a dollar. And I don't think that that is something that any of these younger women out here should be looking up to. But we are going to take a look at JT's natal birth chart for those of you who may be curious and interested. So JT is abbreviated for her real name, Jatavia, and I actually went to school with a girl named Jatavia, spelled the exact same way. So I guess it's just about the pronunciation here. But her name is Jatavia Shakara Johnson. And her name is kind of long, and that can be explained by her being born on the 3rd. So she was born on the 3rd of December in 1992 in Miami, Florida. And with her coming from Miami, that is a very hot place. The climate over there is very humid and overly tropical. You can go and explore Miami. You'll see alligators, you'll see stingrays, you'll see exotic fishes, flowers, and a whole bunch of different things over there. And where Miami sits, it's kind of close to the Caribbean, so you literally can take a boat, a cruise, do all of that fun stuff. Miami just has a lot going on there. And it's one of the most diverse states in the U.S. So, with JT coming from Miami, I'm pretty sure that she's possibly got some linkage to the Caribbean. Maybe she's Haitian. She possibly could be Dominican. Who knows? She could be anything close over there. You know what I'm saying? People that are from that area, they tend to have roots in the Caribbean. With her being a Sagittarius, she might have some distinct roots from Florida that do travel across the coast. Now, this does sextile Jupiter and this does sextile Saturn. And with her Jupiter being in Libra, this points to her being in a girl group. Beyonce also has this placement, so she can relate to Beyonce in a sense when it comes to being in a girl group. But one thing to be noted about JT's Jupiter and Libra placement is that it is squaring Uranus, which I find odd because her group member, Young Miami, is an Aquarius and Uranus rules over that zodiac sign. So with Young Miami being an Aquarius and JT has her placement squaring that energy, I can sense that these two do not get along. There's some tension there, and you see it, especially with this being at the fifth degree. She has Uranus squared at the fifth degree, and the fifth degree deals with performing. It literally deals with that Leo energy. So this can deal with them being on stage and having to go into the studio and record. She could have a hard time getting along with Young Miami and people who are similar to Young Miami. This can be one of those aspects to where she potentially is a little bit homophobic. So to any of you out there who just have a big love for JT and you are just a big advocate for the LGBT, yeah, sorry to hurt your feelings. She may be a little bit homophobic and she may not really mess with that sector of people's lives. Um, doesn't mean like she's a disrespectful person or anything like that. She just may not really vibe with that type of energy. And with her Jupiter and Libra placement, trining her Saturn placement, and also her Sun, this deals with, you know, her claim to fame, her being known from being in a girl group because it sextiles her Sun. And with JT having her Jupiter and Libra placement, trine Saturn, this points to her career and what people will know her from. A lot of people are more familiar with her from this girl group and being a part of the City Girls. And this also sextiles her Sun, and the Sun can deal with our claim to fame, and this is one of her claims to fame, initially her biggest claim to fame. I would say her Jupiter and Libra placement is well aspected. You know, she probably is the type to struggle with rumors and also surprises. She probably does not like surprises since this Jupiter and Libra placement is again squaring that Uranus. So she could struggle with being gifted gifts that come out of nowhere. So she may not show her initial reaction in that moment, like how she's truly feeling. It may not be appreciated by the person who is exchanging this energy with her and giving her this gift. She could be very stale at times towards people who have that Uranian Aquarius type energy. With her Saturn in Aquarius placement, people who have Saturn in Aquarius, they can be known or seen as social but unique. So these are people who are very different, and these are people who really do not mess with a lot of people. They can be reserved and they can be to themselves, and you could see them out in groups and they could support their friends, be very supportive of people that they have long-term relationships with, but they won't do this for everybody. You know what I'm saying? And you may think that you know them, but you don't really know them. There's always going to be something to learn from a person like JT or someone who has Saturn in Aquarius when they come around or when they're in a social setting, just because they always like to be reserved. They don't come around much. So when they do come around, it's like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in months. Like, what's been going on with you? You know, everybody wants to know. And then here's where the bullshit happens, you know, and they want to leave because they start hearing rumors. Like, these people, they can have a reputation for rumors surrounding them since people aren't presented with much. So people can make up things. So this is why they like to stay in the house. This is why they like to keep to themselves. And I can sense JT being this type of person. This also sextiles her Sun. So again, her ego is attached to this energy. So the LGBT actually is going to kind of play a big hand in her career, and they're going to be an advocate for her. They can look at her to be very resourceful or to be like a leader. So with JT having her Saturn in Aquarius, and the Aquarius deals with multiple groups, it can deal with being a protester and boycotting and going out there and advocating. You know, it deals with being an enthusiast, but also an activist. And this can represent the LGBT. This can represent, you know, all of those different categories, right? So with JT having this trine Jupiter, but also sextile her Sun, this definitely can play a role with her career having some type of linkage to these specific groups, such as the LGBT. And this also deals with her being in a girl group, once again, because Saturn does deal with the reputation and Aquarius specifically deals with groups. Now, jumping into JT's moon sign, with her moon being in Pisces, this points to her being very empathetic, very emotional. She could be also spiritual and very curious towards other people's emotions. So she could kind of play therapist with other people and be very healing in their lives, or people can be this way towards her if she has like a lot of trauma. You know, a lot of Pisces moons, these people can come with baggage and they can come with trauma. And trust me, I know I'm familiar with this energy. I have a Pisces moon myself. And so having this energy, I'm all too familiar with it. Pisces moons are just naturally creative, and people with Pisces moons can be hypersensitive as well. And so this plays into that creativity aspect, and this plays into the artistic abilities of a Pisces. These people are able to hear music in a different way that other people cannot hear it. These people can actually feel the rhythm and feel the beat like flowing through them, you know. These people actually can jump into character when acting and performing, and they actually can feel the emotions and everything that is going on in that current state of that character. So Pisces energy does have to deal with, you know, the spiritual realm, and this is where, you know, Pisces moons definitely can be host for spirits, and people who are Pisces moons need to be careful in general when it comes to drugs, alcohol, anything pertaining to you being out of your element, because again, you're a host for spirit. Other entities, other worldly things will be able to take over your body easily than other vessels on this planet, such as, you know, dominant fire signs or dominant earth signs. You know, I would say if you have a lot of water in your chart, such as like Scorpio or Pisces, even Cancer, you will have to be very, very careful with your consumption of anything that can take you out of your state of being current. And Pisces already is the type of energy that's very ditzy. It's a delusional energy. It has to deal with you being very fantastical and mystical. And so these people can live life like it's a movie. They really can. And that's how life can feel for them at times, you know. But at the same time, with this energy, you just have to be careful. And I did notice that JT also has her Lilith in Pisces. And with her having Lilith in Pisces, this is like just for sure, she really has to be careful with her consumption, because she could black out potentially. She could definitely be the type of person to black out and something else can take over, and she won't remember what happened. She won't remember what she did, where she was, what she said. That definitely can go on with people who have Lilith in Pisces, and it can happen with Pisces moons as well. You definitely want to look towards that Virgo energy, of being healthy and eating the right things, being picky with your lifestyle and your lifestyle choices. You want to look towards your opposite counterpart energy if you have a Pisces moon, because sometimes you can be overly emotional and you can escape. You know, this is the sign of the escapist. So you can escape in some bad habits that may be dysfunctional. You know, whether that be art or watching cartoons or eating food, or again, indulging or overstimulating yourself with drugs or alcohol. So you do have to be careful with this Pisces moon energy, because it will have you fucked up. It really will. Now, her Pisces moon trines her Mercury. It sextiles her Venus. It trines Mars. It trines her Pluto. It conjuncts her ascendant. It squares her midheaven. And it's squaring her node. So she has a lot going on to her Pisces moon. And this is why I'm just like being so literal and specific with the things that I am saying, because you don't want to mess around with this energy. You know, that Pisces energy is very deep. And the reason why these people escape is because of that trauma, that hidden trauma that they have yet to discover. You know, they can walk around being touched by God, you know, and having that protection. But, you know, sometimes you do have to grow up. And sometimes that energy can leave your side when you are stepping into the darkness. And people who do have water in their chart, they're just naturally prone to going towards dark areas sometimes. This is how they heal, and this is how they find people who need help. This is how they find people who need light in their life. And this is how they're able to heal these other people. And sometimes, you have to go there alone. You know what I'm saying? And Pisces is very ditzy. It's a very diluted energy that's filled with a lot of confusion. With the JT having this square her north node, she just needs to be very cautious. And it's squaring her midheaven as well. She needs to be very cautious because she definitely could fall victim to being off of her natal path at times, since her moon is squaring her north node. And she does have her north node in Sagittarius. And with people who have Sagittarius north nodes, they potentially are on paths of self-discovery, paths of being their own teachers, and they're also on this journey to accumulate a lot of knowledge and a lot of grand knowledge. But her emotions definitely could hold her back at times, since she has her moon squaring her north node and her moon is in Pisces. So she definitely could fall victim, since Pisces does have to deal with victimhood. She could fall victim to not being on her natal north node at times and not really taking the initiative of being an explorer and going on her own personal journey to discover what it is that fulfills her. She definitely can be prone to being in situations that involve collaborations, since she does have that Jupiter and Libra aspect, and it's pretty well aspected, I would say, and she might be comfortable in that energy, especially since it's sextiling her sun, and the sun has to deal with our ego. So she could be comfortable with that Jupiter and Libra energy and totally discard her natal north node purpose, her Sagittarian natal north node purpose, and her emotions can override that. Now, the next placement that I'm going to discuss totally is like a sugar baby placement. This is one of those placements that can deal with someone not particularly being in love with someone for their looks, but they're in love with the person for what they can provide and their resources. And this has to deal with JT having her Venus in Capricorn. This sextiles her moon, this sextiles her Mercury, and it also sextiles her Pluto. So she's definitely going to be very domineering and intimidating towards her partners, and she's going to want partners who are already established, who already have accumulated resources for themselves. And this for sure is one of those aspects or placements that point towards someone who is more so in love with what a person can provide and the financial things, the material things that a person can give them. This for sure can point to that. And this also has to deal with someone having to grow into their looks. This can point to someone who starts off as the ugly duckling. They may not fully appear as attractive initially. This is someone who definitely will mature and age like fine wine over time. Since Venus represents beauty and it has to deal with beauty, but Capricorn deals with restrictions and it can deal with blockages happening. This is where you can see these people having their beauty restricted at youth. But as time progresses and as they maintain what they have, these people can look very nice at an old age and very attractive. She can be the type of person who definitely will be able to still get a man in her 40s and in her 50s, because people with Venus and Capricorn, they're able to maintain their beauty and prolong it better than other signs. And so at the start, when they're younger, you definitely have to squint your eyes. You got to squint your eyes to kiss them, to even look at them sometimes, throw a filter over their picture or something, because these people, when they're younger, they're not the most attractive. This is one of those placements that you can really dislike at the start if you are familiar with it and you know about astrology, you can be you can be turned off with Venus and Capricorn, but over time, you'll learn to love this energy and you'll learn to respect it. And again, Venus has to deal with what you attract, it deals with your partners and all of that stuff. And these are people who really can maintain beauty, they can maintain these relationships with their friends and their partners and prolong these situations. And so this definitely is a placement that is admirable and attractive in a sense. With the JT having this sextile her moon, she's very comfortable with this energy. With this sextiling her Mercury, again, she's very comfortable with communicating about this energy and expressing how she feels. She definitely is going to be the type of person who likes to communicate with people who are more mature or seen as mature and come off very reserved and calculated and orderly or put together, if you will. So she's going to be attracted to these type of people. And this also opposes her Mars. And with this opposing her Mars, this for sure can point at JT having some type of struggle love relationship with her appearance and her identity and how she appears. She could be the type of person who is uncomfortable with the process of enhancing her beauty. So when it comes to putting on makeup, putting her hair together, and even putting on clothes, since that is very time consuming, sometimes she may want to be stripped down and be natural, but in a sense, she's uncomfortable with how she looks naturally. And since her Venus and Capricorn placement is opposing her Mars, she definitely can be uncomfortable with how she looks stripped back without all of that stuff on. And JT has her Mars in Cancer, so with her Mars being a Cancer, she's the type of person to get riled up and fired up behind family matters and issues dealing with the family. So she could be very triggered and hot-tempered in the household pertaining to her own kids when she has them one day, or even her own siblings, even towards her own mother. She could have a very bad attitude towards her mom that is aggressive, that is, very feisty. She could have a bad mouth at the same time. These people can be very slick at the mouth and they could hit someone emotionally. They definitely will know how to trigger and play on your emotions and be very emotionally manipulative. People that have Mars and Cancer, this aspect, they can be a little racist too. They can just be aggressive and on the defense towards people that they're not familiar with, since Cancer, that energy of Cancer does have to deal with what we're familiar with, and it literally has to deal with family. These people are going to be like aggressive towards people that they do not consider family, people that they do not consider friends, and these are outsiders to them. So with Cancer also having to deal with race and, your racial profile, these are people who definitely can see others who do not identify as them, since Mars deals with the identity. These people can see people who do not identify as them as being an outsider, and they'll be all hot-headed and bothered about it, and they definitely can display racial tendencies and be racist and racially profile people. And this is something that if you see this in your partner's chart and you're in an interracial relationship, just go. Run for the hills. Do not continue to settle or be around this person, because deep down they do not like you. I would not recommend you go forward with that situation. If you are the person with Mars and Cancer and you're dating outside your race and you're dating outside of what you identify as when you look in the mirror, potentially you're going to be uncomfortable with that other person. Vice versa. If they have this in their chart, they may be uncomfortable with you, and they're experimenting, they're trying something new, and they're probably the first to do it in their family, and you definitely are going to be in a lot of arguments with their family, a lot of beefs, a lot of dramas, because that Mars energy has to deal with someone turning up. It has to deal with someone being aggressive. And since Cancer has to deal with the family, you literally can be in verbal disputes with your partner's family, with, your friend's family and stuff like that. And I'm sensing this with JT, I'm sensing that JT is the type of person who is definitely like this. She seems like the girl who only wants to hang around, you know, dark skinned girls or girls that she's familiar with, you know what I'm saying? She doesn't really seem too mixy, and this doesn't have to be a bad thing, but people who have Mars and Cancer, they they just, it is what it is, you know. They don't like to congregate with all different type flavors of the rainbow. Like, it just isn't their vibe, you know. So that's it for now. I'm going to end the video here, and I will see you guys in my next video.